So if you look at icons in a church, are there traditions associated with what is represented in a church and where?
Depending on the size of the church, there's a whole, what we might call canonical or traditional arrangement that icons are placed in certain positions. So, for example, normally there might be a dome inside a traditional Byzantine church, and the dome would contain a circular image of Christ as the Pantocrator or Pantocrator or Pantocrator, depending on how you say that. Christ as the one who rules over all things, surrounded by angels, then the four evangelists, and then down below in front of us there's normally an iconostas, which might be several stories high, or it might just be a very simple screen. The two primary images that have to be part of the iconostas are an image of Christ as a teacher, as healer, or usually, or Pantocrator, here on the right side of the iconostas from the viewer's perspective, and on the left side is an image of Mary holding Christ, which is Christ incarnate. So there's actually, those two are required for the celebration of any service in a business. Even in the smallest of churches, we would at least have Christ as a child and Christ as an adult.
Now, on the Latin Rite, the Roman Catholic, they don't necessarily use icons in that same manner, but they do show up in the liturgical canons, or not the canons, but the liturgical books. They may have it on the epistles. They may have it on the gospel. And so, what's the tradition that in which they apply the
In most
utilization?
Western churches, icons are appreciated and even respected, and oftentimes venerated, but they're not a requirement. In the Eastern Christian approach to worship, icons are an essential element. You cannot worship without proper imagery.
Oh, I see.
The Divine Liturgy, unlike the Mass in the West, could be celebrated in a room that's not properly decorated in any particular fashion, except maybe I think they require a crucifix. In the Eastern Church, we have requirements for certain icons to be present.
Wow, okay.
And it's that whole notion that Christ didn't come to just save the intellectual capacity of the human person. We're not all just sitting around thinking about the things of God. We want to see them. We want to touch them. We want to celebrate them with our senses. Because when Christ came out of the tomb, he didn't come out as a brain. He came out as a human being who had his eyeballs intact, which suggests to us that as Christians we can celebrate what we believe in color and form, not just with concepts and ideas.
So when we look at the icons we have here, we see that it is the image presented on the board. In other representations, there is often some sort of an overlay of metal or other ways of preparing the icon that adds to the image on the board. Who goes down that route, and
There was a development just from a technological perspective in iconography where icons were to be venerated. One of the ways that we venerate an icon is, in addition to making the sign of the cross and bowing our head, we would oftentimes, and I know this is going to scare a lot of people, we kiss the image. Yes, we kiss it. We want to make contact with that, with what we believe. And in that kissing, sometimes, depending on how vigorous people's kissing are and how many people are kissing something, as well as using it for processions and celebrations, icons that get moved around, they get damaged.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So initially as a protective element, metal coverings were added to the icons. But to be honest, as an iconographer, I have found that some of the metal coverings then get really carried away. They take over the place of the icon, and what you're seeing is the metal worker trying to do icons in metal, which doesn't offend me. But oftentimes all that's showing is maybe just the face or the hands. And it's no longer protective. It's an art form all in its own right.
Oh, I see.
Conscious, thank you. You're always conscious with an icon that it is, in fact, a window. It is not the object itself that you are drawn to, but its prototype, what it represents. Even the fact that we kiss the icon, which I know is offensive to some people, we're trying to connect with that mystery of what is being presented, because we have a God who is totally immaterial and beyond all comprehension, but has entered into the material world. And so through material things, oil, water, bread, wine, sacramental stuff, iconography, egg yolk, wood, paint, we try to approach this immaterial God who's entered into the material world.
Well, thank you, Father, for leading us through this whole area of sacred art. It's so important to recognize what it is, the role that iconography plays in regards to our spirituality, its utilization in the Eastern churches, be they Orthodox, Catholic, other Christian denominations, and wish you continue your work, many years of successful work. And just to let the audience know, Father has a broken tooth. And so he struggled through this with, if you've ever had a broken tooth in the back of your mouth, you know what it does to your tongue.
Yeah, I'm sorry for the chewing.
So keep that in mind. So Father has really made a sacrifice for us, our audience, in terms of being able to make this presentation to us. So thank you ever so much, Father Damian.
Thank you, Leo. Thank you.
And thank you to our audience for joining us, and we hope this has been an informative, educational program from which you can benefit in terms of an understanding of an element that perhaps you really don't think about too often, and when you see it, you don't know what it represents, and hopefully as a result of this program, you have a better understanding of it and the role that it plays in terms of fostering us in our spirituality. Aloha, mahalo, thank you.